Hi, my name is Lauren Steele. I'm doing my case study on Aisha. She is in the 3rd grade and her native language is Arabic. She was born in the US, so I'm going to make the assumption that she is already familiar with how the US school systems work, since she likely went to kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade already. So Aisha's WEDA scores are that she is a level 1, which is entering for both speaking and oral, and Aisha is a level 2, which is emerging in listening, reading, writing, literacy, comprehension, and overall. Her ELP does state that she doesn't currently need any accommodations for state and classroom testing, but for the next part, I'm going to read Aisha's can-do descriptors and make some accommodation recommendations based off of those descriptors and her WEDA scores. So for listening, Aisha should be able to follow multi-step instructions. She should be able to identify the main ideas from a paragraph that's read aloud, and she should be able to sequence or match pictures based off of those oral stories. So to support Aisha with her listening goals, it would be appropriate to give instructions in simplified words or sheltered English. This would allow Aisha to work on her goal of following multi-step instructions without her having to sift through any unnecessary or complicated words. I also think it would be appropriate to support Aisha by rephrasing text or possibly giving synonyms within the text so that she can identify those main ideas within a story without getting caught up in a word that she doesn't know yet. So Aisha's can-do descriptors for reading are that she should be able to identify the main ideas and details within her reading. She should be able to sequence the events of a story. She should be able to use clues from the context of the story and illustrations to come up with meanings for words and phrases that she's not familiar with. And she should also be able to read information from charts and graphs. So Aisha's WEDA scores for reading and comprehension fall into that emerging category, which is a level 2. So I think one appropriate accommodation would be to provide Aisha with a graphic organizer or a timeline, since she is expected to be able to keep track of the details in a story. A graphic organizer can only just support her, so she has somewhere to place those events and organize her thoughts. It would also be appropriate to focus on the development of academic language and vocabulary, especially if she's already working on things like reading data from graphs and charts. Academic language is just going to get more complicated as the years go on, so we should start now to support her in that area. And it would also support her in reaching her goals. So Aisha's can-do descriptors for speaking are that she should be able to share basic personal information with her peers about herself. She should be able to ask everyday questions like who is absent, who is present. She should be able to describe pictures, events, objects, or people in short phrases, short sentences, more than a few words. And she should be able to restate content-based facts. So Aisha's WEDA score is a level 1 in speaking. So I think an appropriate strategy would be to design lesson plans that specifically motivate her to speak, that require her to say more than a yes or no answer. And I also think an appropriate strategy would be to pair Aisha with a partner. This would provide Aisha more opportunities to use those phrases in short sentences. It would give her opportunities to restate facts, and it would also get her comfortable talking to her peers, which is one of her goals. Aisha's can-do descriptors for writing are that she can string sentences together, describe events, people, processes, or procedures, produce simple narrative text, and then compare and contrast information. So the best accommodation I could think of for this one was to provide her with a graphic organizer again. This will help her to organize her information so she can do that more critical thinking of comparing and contrasting. I've also seen really cool like maps that help you to organize a paragraph. And this would be something appropriate for her. It helps you place an introduction sentence. It reminds you of a conclusion sentence and that you need some facts in between. And this would be appropriate for Aisha based off of her can-do descriptors and her WEDA scores. So now I'll go into the 4 specific SIOP model ideas that I think would work in the classroom and specifically to support Aisha. So number 1, I would want to implement feature number 4, which is the supplementary materials. One specific example would be that I could use demonstrations, or I could have a student demonstrate how to use materials and how to do follow the instructions before Aisha has a chance to practice on her own. So this would support Aisha in that goal of following multi-step instructions. It would also give her visual cues to go off of versus just a verbal cue. This would also support the whole class. I think that everyone can benefit from seeing a demonstration. So number 2, I would want to implement the feature number 14, which is scaffolding techniques consistently used, assisting and supporting student understanding. So I could scaffold by asking Aisha to add on to what she said or provide more information. This would help her to practice using her language more than just a few words. I'd encourage her to use those short sentences or phrases. And I could also scaffold by partnering Aisha with a more experienced reader. They could practice working together to determine those main ideas or details of a story. And it could also help her to have someone to, if she is using the context and illustrations to come up with word meanings that she doesn't know, she could just do a quick check with her partner as well. The partnering is beneficial to the entire class too, so I don't see that it would interfere with any classroom activities. Number 3, I would want to implement feature number 17, which is grouping configurations to support language and content objectives. I think it would be great if the students worked in pairs to work on their graphic organizers to specifically fill out their vocabulary terms. So they would get then the opportunity to discuss the terms. They are typically assigned to draw a picture that represents the term so they could discuss why they chose that picture. And then they could also practice using their new words in sentences. This is beneficial for the whole class as well as Aisha. It provides students with the opportunity to learn new information, discuss it, and then process it. So number 4, I would want to implement feature number 18, which is sufficient wait time for student responses consistently provided. I think that this is an important feature to support Aisha since her read level score is a level 1 in speaking and oral. She may just need additional time to come up with her questions or even to answer a question. And I would want to give her plenty of time without interruption. I think that this would be a good modeling for the other students in the classroom too. They may learn to give Aisha a little bit more time before expecting a response. And I think that this would just give Aisha help meeting her speaking goals, but also help her to build confidence using that English within the classroom. So that's all I have. This has been fun, but yeah, thank you.